The what?
That they have the kit. Didn't you say they have
Yeah.
kit?
Yeah, he made a deal with them. I don't know what he pulled with them or what he offered them, but he made a deal with them.
What, internet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Comcast,
Okay.
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah, fire station has fiber,
yeah,
Well, is it consolidated, Fidium, or is it Comcast?
Comcast.
Comcast. See, Comcast runs through.
Comcast
town.
runs through town, right?
Yeah.
They just, the last time they ran through, the select board decided, the one guy that was gonna stop it was late. Till he got here, they had already signed permission for it to go through instead of making them build out. And
So they just went through instead.
Right, they just went through. They don't want to build out because Croydon isn't beneficial.
So he applied for an EMS exception, that's what he did.
So
Which makes perfect sense.
Really want to, a business could potentially get it. But you pay like $500 a month, as I understand, so.
It's expensive,
Yeah.
it's expensive. But EMS services, especially fire stations, police stations, things like that, they have they say, hey, this is life safety, we need this. And they're obligated to put it in, I think by RSA.
Yeah, how long is that contract until it comes up for renewal?
It was supposed to be renewed a couple of years ago and we were all on board. In fact, she was doing legwork on it. We were all ready to rock and ride and they went up the other direction up Springfield.
They did a left turn.
Yeah,
To get to where? To get to Grantham?
yeah.
And now they won't come back
Oh.
because
Back as well.
Consolidated's coming in.
Oh,
Yeah, they won't,
I didn't realize.
because they won the, Consolidated won the contract, so.
Yeah.
And I heard Comcast didn't want
No, they didn't because the buildup is the problem. They have like a
Exactly.
2,400 foot, 1,200 foot build out
Yep.
and it's,
So wasn't that
they
part
were
of
getting nothing. Yeah.
Build Back America? Wasn't that why all we have these
Yeah.
$1 trillion?
Yeah, but they didn't-
Build the goddamn thing.
Not enough return.
Yeah, but if they're no, they don't have to pay any costs up front to build something, then I would think everything be gravy, other than maintenance.
Yeah.
Which is a pain in the ass. Okay. You ready to go? We're
Yep.
we're finished
Yep.
bullshitting.
So everybody introduced everybody,
Yes.
everybody knows who everybody is, and Chris is gonna take rough minutes.
Are we on now?
Yeah,
Say
no.
7. Call it to order.
Yeah. But it's a working meeting, so it's gonna be very laid back. It's not gonna be a call to order or anything. We're just gonna kind of go down the new business. Basically, I sent you the things that were in my list and hope that you might have some more in your lists, or we could look at them and rank these things in order of importance. Again, my questions were, what do you think we can accomplish? What can we finalize? What can we do in a public hearing and get done and over with? What of these will have to go to our special town meeting, Joe? And when do we know that we're gonna have that special town meeting? What of these, like the fee schedule, will require us to wait until the actual town meeting in March? When or do we at all bring in a joint meeting with the select board, the ZBA, to get them involved, get their suggestions, thoughts on any of this? And then how do we want to accomplish this? So, there we go. Table's open.
So you want to start with the schedule then? Or the item, or you want to go through the items that we did last year,
Yeah, the
ready
stuff
to
we
go?
already got done, let's put that up on top.
Okay,
Because you got far too much work into that, and that's the main reason that we're pushing shit tough. Because we really can't do anything with individual warrant or ordinances until we have that stuff lit up to give us teeth to base the ordinances on.
And we can't put new ordinances into the zoning regulations without going
Right.
to town meeting, so.
Right, right. Now with the wording stuff that wants to be changed, we can do that with just hearings. Everything else is gonna go hearings, town meeting, all that. The main stuff, we should probably get in so that at the regular town meeting, we can do the fee schedule and the additional ordinances and stuff like that, that we.
Well, listen, we can do the fee schedule, we can do the ADUs, we can do the wireless
Well, the
telecommunications.
fee schedules have to go to regular town meeting.
That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh.
So does the ADU regulation, because we're changing that so significantly. That we'll have to-
Well, we can do this, see, that's what we can do the special meeting for, to get them in. That way we have them in the ordinance.
Can you, okay, can you get them in without town meeting?
We can have a special,
Special
see,
town
we already put money aside to have the special meeting for that.
Oh, so they don't have,
For the,
they don't have to be warrant items.
no, well, if we do a town meeting, a special town meeting,
Right.
the ADUs, the tower, the site regs can go through. And then we'll have town meeting to do, the regular town meeting to do fee schedule or whatever else we got. Because we don't want town meeting to go for 6 hours.
So let's separate what can be done with just a regular special town is,
Well, the special meeting, we can do almost any of it.
we can?
The fee schedule is the big one,
Is
is
the
the
one.
big holdup.
Money, if we're asking for a change of money, that will have to go to March.
Yeah.
So are you planning on doing a special meeting for Cash Street or no?
No,
No.
no,
So
no.
this would be a special meeting just to.
This, yeah, see, this was already planned. What we were gonna do with Cash Street was put it in
Yeah, yeah.
together. So that the two of them were there, because the money's already there, it would already be paid for, it wouldn't have cost us a dime. Because it all would have been the same day and everything, but, you know, he didn't. That's what we voted on, so we're gonna wait on that
So
and everything, but we're still gonna have to have it, we're still gonna have a special town meeting, because that was already planned for this.
So that they don't have to be warrant items is all I want to establish.
No, they'll be not at town meeting. They just have to have the special town meeting.
Right, but, right, I'm talking March town meeting.
Right,
Yeah,
no,
Okay,
No.
but what does have?
Fee schedule.
Fee schedule has to go to.
everything else we can split up between the two of them.
But even if we introduce something totally new, like a generic site plan regulation, doesn't that have to go to? And
The
then
special
add it,
meeting.
and then add it to the town plan, doesn't that? have
See,
to
we're
go-
gonna have hearings. We gotta have hearings before any of this. And
And then hold an actual meeting where.
and then
people
hold
vote?
an actual.
Oh, okay,
meeting.
gotcha.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so the scheduling is hearings,
right.
then meeting.
So it's
Right.
not a warrant article.
No.
It's a town meeting.
No,
Right.
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 It's
Okay.
not. The only
Much
warrant
different.
article
Yeah.
at town meeting will be the fee schedule
Schedule.
plus anything we have left over that we
Which is
want to
why
do.
that's in March.
Right.
Yep.
Now, see, at the hearings, we can also change the stuff that the zoning board has got together that's just wording changes, stuff. we can-
Definition,
We can
housekeeping.
pass those straight out at the hearings. You know, we don't have to take them to the town meeting.
Now, which is the one that has the word chattel? We got to get rid of.
Yeah, that's in the.
I don't know if you've read these, but the word it's chattel meaning.
It's
in there.
it's in the definition of a building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they're not talking about cows either.
No.
So
Anyway.
we're going to have a public hearing.
Right.
And then a second public
Two.
hearing,
Correct.
and then a
Town meeting.
special
Town
town.
meeting.
So there's
Right.
3 meetings we're
So
gonna.
there'll
Right.
be
And I
three
think-
public meetings.
And I think
What
there's
was
30
it,
days
town
between.
Public,
I mean,
public meeting,
So you need 2 public hearings.
Two
Two public
And then
hearings.
you go to the special meeting.
and then a special,
That's
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
And it's the
I think
same,
they're
it could
30
be the
days
same
apart,
agenda, both meetings,
if I'm not
as far as
mistaken.
what you're talking about.
So that will be for these guys here.
I'll double check, but I think the public hearings can be
15.
15
Yeah,
days.
I was thinking it can, but I didn't want to.
We'll double check on
No,
that.
public hearing is 14 days.
14 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be noticed and then 14 days from the notice. And then town meeting, I don't know, regulations.
Yeah, we'll have to double check on all of that.
No,
That's it.
not for town meeting. That doesn't go to DRA for town meeting.
The special one?
Yeah.
Won't go
No, not
until
special.
after, there'll be updates and stuff that they get, whatever's at
Yeah,
actual town meeting.
There's no ballot.
PR.
there's no ballot. It's a voice vote
No.
or a secret ballot vote. If somebody votes for a secret ballot.
All right, so the site plan definition, or a site plan getting into the thing over there. And what we came up with is rather than address every single item in terms of what constitutes a site plan, we're saying we'd start with a generic thing that, if it's not a minor subdivision or an annexation, any application to the planning board may be subject to a site plan. And I think just, and leave it that, because if you have that in there, the town clerk could have made the people who built the tower submit to whatever the regulations, RSAs that are already existing. Okay, so, and what to do is, first of all, it gets them in front of us. There are RSAs on the books that might have had some control over what happened on the hill here, rather than the guy walks in and Charlene says, "Oh, we haven't got regulations on." The guy, "What?" And he walks out the door, and a couple of weeks later, he's up on the hill, which has been there now for over a year. Right?
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, how wordy do you want the site plan regulation to be, other than,
I don't
is
think
that
we-
true?
Yeah.
See,
Other than
board.
minor subdivisions and annexations?
Yeah, so it's basically, are you coming in to give us a plan for a single-family home or a duplex? We have no control over those. That's the select board. Anything else would be, you have to see the planning board, site plan.
Well, no, but I don't, but we know minor subdivisions, you don't have, need a site plan,
Nope.
and annexations, correct?
Don't need a site plan.
So if you-
Subdivision,
so-
you don't.
So if you said minor, but if the wording were other than minor subdivisions and annexations, right? Any application to the planning board could be subject to a site plan.
Review.
And that, just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay?
So don't you get the site plan anyway when you apply for septic?
No, because like the tower that went in, there was
There's
no
nothing.
regulation on the book, so it just came in.
Because it wasn't a residential unit.
Right.
Okay.
We have nothing, so somebody changes the use. If somebody decides that they want to put in a business or a commercial use or change,
There's no ordinance for that.
there's no ordinance for that says that they're up for a site plan review.
And what there is ordinance has holes and is reversed by 2 sentences later. That was the main reason we were going through to change some of this stuff.
Understood.
Now, can you put that in the wording that you put in the, I got them here somewhere.
Yep,
The other stuff.
I can work on
So,
site
okay.
plan and.
So that knocks that one out.
Yeah,
One less.
I mean, that's,
Let's move on to this really sticky one, driveway application. Okay, now I had a
So-
conversation with Kim about Sunday.
Yeah,
Okay,
we were
okay.
talking Sunday. Now, Joe brought it to the select board. We had made the planning board voted to make the road agent designate. Joe brought it to the select board at their last meeting, and they voted to make the road agent the designate. So I think all we need to do is make an application for the road agent that assists him
Right.
in this process.
yeah, I turned him over a copy of the actual driveway regulations from 1977.
Yeah.
And that was the newest ones, but that's the only place where that's actually the only place where it's written about the one driveway unless you got 500 feet of road
Yep.
frontage. But yeah, I gave him a copy. That way, if there's any question, he can just say, here it is.
So this would be just changing the procedure, but not
The
touching the
application.
actual
Yes.
regulation at all.
Yeah.
The application's gonna be changed to sign him, the actual, what they do, the regulations and all that, none of that is gonna change.
Okay, this
So
now,
that's done.
let's get us into, what because we're talking about creating a form for an application to the,
Yep.
Right.
so the first thing would be, why do you want to come? I mean, at some point, can somebody put together what we would,
Don't we have a
The
driveway
order of-
permit form?
Yeah, we do have a
Yeah.
We
permit
have a
form.
form.
Yeah, we have a form. We already have it out.
Yeah, you do. You
Yeah.
have a driveway application
Right.
form.
Yeah.
no, not driveway, but the application just to appear before the planning board and include the driveway application. Are you applying to the planning board? Well, actually, the planning board doesn't do driveway.
No.
No, we're
Well-
not
So
gonna
it's
do
totally
anything.
separate. Okay.
It's all gonna go to Joe.
Okay.
See, right now, it takes anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks to get a driveway permit. We're gonna shave that time off because Joe can generally get it within a few days.
Okay.
Yeah, so according to chapter 236, sections 13 and 14, the planning board has regulatory power. According to our ordinance, planning board has regulatory power. All I want to do is give Joe a better application.
Right.
I would like the application to say, you have to provide a site plan. On the site plan, you have to provide where your end of your property is, what the distance is to your driveway, what the driveway width is going to be, what the flare out is going to be. Is it going to have 2 feet on either side for snow removal? What the end of the driveway is to your property? Okay, where's the intersection of the streets? Where's the intersection to the next driveway? Flag the dang driveway. So when he goes out there on an inspection, he can see exactly where the driveway is going to be. Where's the ditches? Are you going to need a culvert? That's what the road agent should say. How long is the driveway going to be? We brought this up. If it's going to be over a certain length, then perhaps the only thing they should say is, driveway regulations do not apply to a certain part of the driveway extending beyond the driveway. However, the town wishes to notify property owners that in designing and constructing a driveway beyond the limits of the road right-of-way, that due consideration should be given to the fact that emergency vehicles in general are not able to or may not be able to access driveways that exceed a grade of 15% and/or one that curves with an inside radius of less than 22 feet. Further consideration should be given to provide a suitable turnaround so that 2 emergency vehicles may pass each other and do not have to back down to exit the driveway. Always remember that in an emergency, seconds matter. It is solely the property owner's responsibility if emergency vehicles are not able to access your site.
Where did this come from?
I wrote it.
Oh.
Again,
So where would that go? In the applicant, where would you?
it would just, it doesn't have to be that wordy. We can
Would
unword
it- I mean,
it.
would it go here for the regular?
It's just something that to say, and we have nothing in there that says if you want to build a 2,000-foot driveway that goes up a hill, that's on you, as long as it comes down and is flat, so all of that doesn't wash down into the road. Good. But if we can't get up to the top of the hill, I want everybody to understand, we can't get up to the top of the hill.
Where did you get all of this 22 and a half feet?
AASHTO.
Ooh.
AASHTO, AASHTO. It's DOT, standards and specs.
I'm good.
You know it? You said, okay. Fine. So, no, but so that sounds like it's been sort of solved, right? Other than, do you want to make this thing more detailed?
I'm throwing it out there for table discussion.
No, I think it should be more detailed. And I think you should have the disclaimer on there because it works the other way too. The town could be held liable for issuing a driveway permit that doesn't afford or accommodate EMS vehicles and somebody dies.
Right.
And people go nuts when that happens usually. And that could translate into a lawsuit, whether they'd win or not, that remains to be seen. But it's our job to make sure that the town is mitigated from any sort of legal entanglements for giving a permit to somebody that they look at that and they go, okay, well, the town gave me a permit, the driveway should be good. Well, the fire truck can't get up there. And you also should have something in the driveway permit about height. Because if you're gonna cut a driveway in and you're gonna go through trees, you may leave 8 or 9 feet of tree limb across the tree, thinking that, hey, I can get my car through here, I don't care. But a fire truck will hit the tree limb.
Yep.
So the requirement should be a width, a height, and the length,
And the link.
right? So I think all of those things, not necessarily requirements, but disclaimers.
Yep.
Say that, EMS vehicles require blah, 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 blah.
Or, or we don't.
And then
have
it's up to the homeowner.
We don't have to put the requirements in there. We can just say, this is just a notice.
Correct.
If you don't take all of this into consideration, just remember, I mean, if you've got an ambulance up and you're trying to pull somebody out and you get a fire truck blocking your driveway, the ambulance is going to be sitting there and you've got a heart attack victim.
Yeah, somebody's gonna move.
So what are you going to do now? You got 2.
I don't think it's necessarily realistic to have the idea to have the driveway wide enough for 2 EMS vehicles, just because that's wider than most all driveways. Like, I can't get 2 cars down my driveway.
Just
side
a
by side.
turnaround.
Yeah.
But some kind of a turnaround. Can they turn around in your driveway?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. but I think that should be up to, again, that should be up to
That's- yeah,
homeowners'
up to-
liability
yeah.
if, you know, if they don't want to, if they want to build a 6-foot high driveway and the, no EMS can get in there and the guys are walking up the driveway with a stretcher, that's going to be on them.
Yeah.
But right now, you're open a little bit to interpretation of, hey, you said my driveway was okay. You didn't say that EMS couldn't get up here.
Yeah. That's why I just wanted to,
I think it's a great notation for people to take into consideration.
Agreed, and your point is you probably want that disclaimer on a piece of paper that the guy has signed
Correct. Yeah, and on the application.
on the application. Now, what about the provisos that she's talking about in terms of what the driveway should look like and the constraints? Should that be on the application too?
I think that the fire department has a standard that they go by, and I think you should just put the standard.
we can ask Jason Rick.
Yeah.
We can ask
There's an EMS standard. I worked on this entire, there's an EMS standard for a turnaround. And
Okay.
you can say in the application that this is the guideline. It's not, again, you don't want to mandate, I
No,
don't like
I don't want
mandates,
to mandate anything.
but
I
you wanna
just
say-
Let them know,
you want to list those things out. Yeah.
this is,
And that's really for driveways greater than what, 100 feet, right?
Well, I mean, you don't want a driveway that's less than 100 feet doing this either.
Well, correct.
I mean, there was
It's not a driveway, that's a slide.
right, my wife's down in Pennsylvania, is when you came out of her driveway and you made the first turn, you couldn't see in front of your car and how steep was that?
Yeah.
And she sold the house, some other idiot bought it.
and I also think that there should be a, expiration date.
After the application?
Once you've got a year, do it within a year or come back and start the process over and pay another fee. We should have them on all of our applications.
I was reading through them today and I thought I saw that some language is, I mean, maybe it's for the overall subdivision. I mean, it's in a few of them, but I don't know that it's, like you said, that it's,
So there should be a time limit on approved subdivisions
Right,
between shovel in the ground. And there should be a time limit on building permits. You've got a building permit for a building, you've got so much time to build it before you have to come back and reapply. And the reason for that is because larger cities and larger municipalities, regulations change all the time. So while the person holding the building permit is grandfathered in, 24 months from now, that law or the regulation may change, the setback may change, something may change. And by having them go back in, that allows you to update, and they may not be able to get their building permit the next time around because an ordinance changed and took a setback from 50 feet to 75 feet, and he's at 72 feet. So now the process becomes, he has to go get a variance, right? So we would file an application with the zoning board, get a variance and come back and there it is. And in all likelihood, he'd get awarded that variance, but there's a system in place for that.
right. He would get the variance because he started the process and whatever happened, happened.
But usually it gives some reasonable periods of time for people because the construction time and, finances ebb and flow and change.
I absolutely, it should be a reasonable, and it doesn't have to be, you come back, so let's say the driveway permit is $50. You come back, you get a re-up, it's half that or $10 because you're coming back and saying, I didn't get to it, something happened, I just want to keep it open, it's going to be the exact same thing, and so it's just, and it's a $10 re-permit.
Where's our fee schedule? Is that it there?
Here it is.
Going to want to update the driveway permit, current $15, proposed 30, and
A re-up would
a
be
renewal would be
$10.
half is 15.
So, and if you're gonna put a fee schedule in front of the voters, are you gonna put an impact fee schedule in front of the voters for
That
developments
area.
greater than three people,
I-
3 units?
Absolutely think that that's something that needs to be on the, thank you for bringing that up. That's why I asked for not
Does-
only impact, but we need to have phasing, which we already have in our regulations.
Step backward. How long do you want to give the driveway permit? A year?
Yeah,
A year, 2 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
1 year.
driveway permit's pretty easy to renew. That's not a big
For
one.
1 year.
But I like your idea about a 50% reduction for the renewal.
Yeah.
Renewal fee after 1 year is
I'll get those in.
Okay.
And I don't know a lot of impact fees and how much you can charge. I know that, invaluable in situations where communities are building, 200 homes, right? That's not the case here. So I think we'd have to look into RSA language on impact fees to see what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And it may come down that the impact fee idea, while it might be a great idea, it's not going to be a very lucrative one, and it's really not going to do anything. Because if it says, the most you can charge is X and it's per that, and unless you got a guy, and we don't want a 10-unit development. So we can have impact fees that deter that, perhaps. That might not be a bad thing. But there's huge impact on the roads, on EMS, on schools, on everything else. So a lot of people use those types of things in order to.
So with our,
curtail some of those expenses.
with the generic site plan regulation, okay, basically, we could say, we're going to impose an impact fee and change the number as we see fit, right?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, why can't we? I mean,
That looks
we
like-
have to hire an engineer to do this, so therefore we want to pay
If
for it.
we have to hire any outside consultant, the developer pays for it.
No, I know they pay for it, but would that, in the impact fee, would you not want something sort of open-ended so that you could
I
accommodate?
don't know what the RSA regulation is on that, but there's an RSA.
Is there,
No.
is there?
There is. Oh, yeah.
There's an
There's an
RSA.
RSA.
Something that could be shared with the group.
Yeah, I'll take that action and do RSA lookup for impact fees. Come back with what we could do and what we couldn't do, and see if it's even worth even talking about.
Okay. I know the city of Lebanon has impact fees. What they use right now is a percentage of, so they have many schools and 4 or 5 fire stations, and they also have water and sewer. So they do a percentage of all those different fees. And then depending upon, they even do it against a single family home. So if you come in and you just build a new single family home, or if you change a single family home to a duplex or into a multifamily home, or you put in a development, you pay an impact fee based on a percentage for the amount that it's going to change them to provide you for transportation costs, school costs, based on bedrooms, all of that, EMS, fire, water, sewer. So, yeah, it can get kind of tricky.
Well, I'll do some research on it. And
Good,
I'll
thank you.
go back at the next meeting.
Trying to think of who else I know that does impact fees.
I think that, one of the problems that, or one of the challenges that we have is that there's a certain expectation that people have when they move north, that they don't want to have to deal with city regulations or big town regulations, and that we need to be sensitive to that, I think. I mentioned the blight ordinance at the last meeting, and that blight ordinance, I think.
I'm not sure what that is.
So the idea is that you have an ordinance that protects life and safety of our children, because when you have an abandoned home or an abandoned house that has broken windows and can easily be accessed and has no security, no electricity, kids could go in there and get hurt.
Absolutely.
It also brings the property values down of the surrounding houses around it. So that's not a good thing. So in a city, anything can be considered blight. A barn could be considered blight, a shed, anything can be considered blight. But up here in North Country, there's people that have barns that are 400 years old, 300 years old, whatever, right? You're not going to tell Farmer Fred to take his barn down. That's ridiculous. But if you had it limited to one paragraph, said unoccupied, single family home, unoccupied for greater than 6 months, you send a letter to the homeowner and you say, you got to do something about this, because it's falling apart. So you give them the opportunity to secure it and make it presentable to the community. They don't care. You don't care what's going on the inside necessarily. But if they're not able to do that, or the house is falling apart, roof is caved in, then you have a situation where a child can come in there and get hurt. And that's the question lies of, does government have a responsibility to protect and, kids from that type of stuff? And does government have a responsibility to protect the value of the homes around it? And that's really the decision that you have to make. I mean, whether you feel that's necessary or not. But since you're talking about ordinances, I threw that out at the last meeting because there's a few houses in town that are unoccupied, that have been unoccupied, trailers that have been unoccupied for a long period of time that are falling apart. No one lives there. You know, Brenda looks at one every single day.
Kitty fogs.
Kitty Frogs. And I also look at another one on Barton Road, just above you, Joe.
29, yeah, I know, I've been bugging her to
Oh.
buy the property since we moved in.
Well, what the town's responsibility in that case is the town is, if you pass that type of an ordinance,
Right.
what you're basically allowed to do is you notice the homeowner of record that the property is not being occupied and it's a blight to the community and it needs to be dealt with. And if they don't deal with it, the town has the authority to go in, take the property, take the house down, make it secure, and lien the property for that cost. You can't take the property unless they're not paying their taxes, right?
So back to your original point though, I think as long as the ordinances we're putting through are reasonable, I mean, you can just do it. As opposed to, you know, a town I lived in, Vermont, had to tell you what color you could paint your goddamn front.
Oh, I know.
And up doors, you know, that's not where.
Like I said, we have an expectation when you move north that you have, this is our land, we do what we want on our property, and that's the way things are.
And they
I couldn't agree with that more. So,
and they go nuts if you put in.
Yep.
uh,
but I think you need some simple guidelines so that you don't have chaos, because chaos would not be a good thing.
No.
Right.
So I'm gonna add that to this potential list of,
Yep, blight ordinance.
and that, I don't know, I guess it would be, you would have to have, it would go in with the hearing. And
Yep.
Would be part of,
Yep.
so we add that to the list of things for the special town meeting. Light ordinance. Okay.
So right now for that, we have the ADU, the cell tower, potential blight ordinance. Is that, that's what I had.
Site plan. Generic site plan.
The driveway, I think we have an ordinance. I think that ordinance should be looked at and tweaked for a special town, for the regular town meeting in March. I think in order to make it easier for Joe, maybe have a conversation with Joe as to how having an application that has it spelled out, what would make his job easier. So when the application comes in, the town out, it's ready to go. They can put it in, they can message Joe, call Joe, put it in Joe's box, whatever it is. Joe can pick it up. No, he's got an application. He can go drive by the site. It's staked out. It's ready to go. He can say, okay, it's done. And then he can bring it back here, drop it off, it's signed. We have a signed complete driveway permit. That's an expedited process. If it's not complete, so that he can't do that, then that's on the person who's trying to get the driveway permit. This is what he needs, so he can give you the service that you need.
So you wouldn't accept a sketch?
If the sketch has the measurements, yeah. If they can sketch it out and say, okay, the driveway's gonna be here, it's
300 feet from phone pole on north side of this and 200 feet in this, and the driveway's gonna angle at that, you're okay with that sketch, so that somebody doesn't have to go and spend $1,000 on a site.
right. We don't need a site plan, a sketch is fine, but what this is gonna do is if Joe goes back in 6 months and the driveway is not 100 feet, it's 200 feet, he can come back and say, here's the sketch. You drew it. That's just what I okayed. Move it.
Should we invite him to our meeting on the 7th of June?
For input on the form,
Yeah.
Yeah, input on the form, shall we? Okay.
and then we can create the form after that meeting, and
Yep.
I would think the select board should have to approve it. Because it's a form that's gonna be used within the conjunction of municipality, I think they should at least see it.
Well, we have 2 select board members here.
That's, yeah. which is the forum, right?
Yeah, but they're not talking about.
Yeah,
town.
they're not talking about the form.
I had enough beers with town councilors not to.
I
bothered by
think
that
if
role.
we have a conversation with Joe and he is on board with just getting the information that he needs, I don't want him to have to spend 2 hours
Right.
or 3 hours on a driveway permit when he has so much more to do. This is not a good use of his time. But if he has everything he needs, so we can just zip by, we do the form, and then we can present it to the board at a meeting. I don't see why the board of select wouldn't approve of said changes to the form. And it'd make it easier on the town clerks too, so they wouldn't have to spend so much time going, well, not sure if it's complete or where the form goes. I just, that's,
Is this something that has to go to
no, we're
the
just changing
special
an
town meeting or
application.
just?
No, because the
No, just-
ordinance
just be
isn't
done.
changing,
The ordinance isn't changing.
Changing,
This
it's
is
just the
just an application.
just the application.
There's
All
no
we gotta do is
approval
agree on
process
it.
by the town. Okay.
All we gotta
Joe,
do
do
is
we need to
agree on
have
it.
a public hearing for that?
Wouldn't be bad, but I mean, actually, we don't, since it's just the application, we're not changing any of the rules.
But I guess,
Well, I could just make it a item, you'd have it on item for the regular planning board meeting.
Yep.
People, you could say we're discussing the same.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause I mean, there's no legal changes to any. Adding an informational sheet on specifications for the
Suggested.
application, yeah.
So if we do it at a regular planning board meeting, Joe can make it, Joe Bolliger can make it, and we bring it to the select board at a regular select board meeting, I think we've hit all those
Right,
markers.
yeah.
Right, Chris?
Yeah, because nothing's changing in the wording of the ordinance or the ordinance itself, so.
Nope.
We've got no problems.
Okay.
this is the ordinance.
That, no, the ordinance, here's the ordinance.
The 1977.
Oh, the 1977 special. Okay.
Yeah.
Gets worse.
Now, does this, I haven't got, obviously, I'm gonna read the whole thing, does this include the numbers you were talking about in terms of the size?
No,
No, that's just, that stuff we'll have to make it a separate issue. We can change the application and put that stuff in, but the changes we're gonna make to the ordinance have to be done through the other
yeah,
channels.
we'll
The hearing.
take that
I
to,
mean, even the stuff we take to town meeting has to have hearings,
No, but, okay,
so.
so this ordinance, to change it will require that whole,
To change it, we have to do that, but to add to the application, we don't, because the ordinance, that part isn't changing. It's based on the ordinance as written.
okay, but I'm getting confused. If you put in new
I'm not putting in,
specifications,
all I'm doing here is to say.
Suggestions are not
Suggestions.
required.
well, wait a minute, aren't you requiring that it be 22 feet wide or whatever? the number is?
No.
No.
Or you're not?
Suggestions.
Design suggestions
Design
for,
suggestions.
for the ease of travel for EMS vehicles.
Okay, so basically, if you don't meet those parameters, then
That's on you.
it's on you.
Yep, it's
Okay,
on you.
Yeah.
and the disclaimer will be
Yeah.
there with-
Now, when we change that to put specifications in, that will have to go to hearings and meeting.
So that's not a priority, right? That's not a priority right now?
No.
So it's been
No.
It's
all
been there
I'm
since
trying to do is-
1977. It can wait another-
Yeah, it'll do another year or so, yeah.
Just trying to make it easier on Joe. Again, I don't want him in 3 hours for a driveway permit, 4 hours, he takes better use of his time. I just,
Okay,
that's all.
so this, so the application, okay.
Okay.
Okay, now I understand what you're,
Um,
what else? Oh,
Master plan, I think. Oh, subdivision regulations, sorry. Again, we have a subdivision regulations. I think we just need a application process. As things come in, nobody seems to know, we don't have a checklist, we don't have a timeline. I have developers emailing me on the day of the meeting saying, hey, here's my, preliminary design, we're gonna show up tonight. And, that's just, no,
You just have to put a stop to it.
yeah, we're
Tell them,
putting
no,
a
you
stop
come
to
to the
it.
next meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
no, yeah, we did.
Oh, no, I know, I was here.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe you get on the agenda.
Yeah. So, but if we have an application and it specifically states in the RSA that if they want to put in a preliminary plat, they have to have it in 21 days before the meeting, 21 days. So we can make an application and have all of that, and we can require a conceptual design. We don't have to have it for a minor subdivision of 2 lots where they're keeping one. We can say that's not necessary. You can bring that in as a preliminary plat. But on a major or 3 or more, we can say conceptual design. We want to see it 21 days before. Come in for the meeting, we'll talk about it, and then you're going to come back to another meeting, and then you'll come back to the 3rd meeting where we have the hearing. We have that ability to do. We don't lose that ability. We can waive any one of those meetings if we want to, if we feel that everything's been talked about, taken care of, all of the Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted. But,
And conversely, you can postpone a meeting if we haven't been able to figure out what.
right. We
But,
just
so you're saying that there's something like the 21 days is in the RSA?
Yep.
So is it, I mean, then it seems like our subdivision plan doesn't reference the RSA, right?
Nope.
It's like the issue. So I'm just wondering if you could say something that's not in our I mean, could you do that without changing the actual ordinance? Like, could the application say you have to follow RSA, blah, 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 but it doesn't actually say it in the ordinance? Or could someone challenge and say, well, your ordinance doesn't say it, so like, what does this document, can this document hold me to something that your actual ordinance doesn't?
Yep, state RSA would trump ours.
Yeah, whatever's more strict.
State RSA trumps.
Yep.
We have to catch up with
That's the one I
what's
jacked.
going on.
So that's more a matter of the application process thing, is just spelling it out for them to say you need to follow X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Cribbage. So do we have in the subdivision guidelines, what are the setbacks?
35 feet.
You don't change the setbacks of a subdivision, especially a cluster subdivision?
We can.
We should.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
set up, it's all set up.
Is that RSA?
No,
No,
no, that's ours. It's set up just.
just 35 feet.
Yeah, and then 75 on the well septic. but-
The planning board might want to consider a much bigger setback for cluster divisions. Something of 5 or more homes has to have X number of feet to the sight line of a residential property.
If we have the generic site plan regulation, basically, can we say,
Yeah, then
the
we
hell
could-
with the 35 feet, this is what.
Yeah.
Well, I think
And not
35
have it
feet,
on the books.
I think 35 feet is in a community of 800 is probably short,
No, wait a minute,
way too short.
where the hell was it? My wife and I were in Tucson and looking at a new housing development, and you can reach
10
out
feet.
one window and touch the house.
That's where the
right?
whole Grey Poupon commercial came from.
Yeah, right. That's right.
No, I mean, so this is something we probably, again, we want an application process that spells out the strictness of, and brings in the strictness or the different timeline of the RSAs, the state RSAs.
I mean,
Not strict, the different timeline of the state RSAs, because we need to start adhering to them. But we definitely want to go through some of
Mhm.
the regulations that we have and updating them so that we don't have a Grey Poupon moment, that we have larger.
Well, I'm talking, like, as an example.
well, actually, 35 feet actually gives you 70.
When you have a lot that's cut out like this, you have a house here and you have a house here. And then the lot spreads out like that, right? And he's got 65 acres back here. And what he wants to do is he wants to put houses like this. And this is 35 feet from this guy's kitchen window.
Mhm.
Okay, but it also has to be 35 feet, that house that's on the line on the left. Because
This house.
that house gets a 35.
Yeah, well, that house
Now
is,
it's
like 80 feet.
Okay, so now you're 70 feet already.
Yep. But my point is that if you have a 200-foot setback on a cluster division, he wouldn't be able to do that. This would have to be a driveway. And then he'd put his houses up in here and you'd never see him. And then your property is protected from the view. This
Actually,
property is protected from the
That would
view.
have to be a road
That would have to be a road.
because
Yep. Exactly.
And already the town has
No private road.
no private roads. Yeah.
So he'd have to put in a road. He'd have to go to the select board and have them approve the road, bring the road up to standards.
So it's a lot different. I just, unless I'm, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm new here, but I would assume that we're not overly interested in cluster development.
We are not.
We're not, however, if they want to give us something like that with a green space around it. So if they were going to come up and put in a road, cluster the homes around a small cul-de-sac and then give us a green space around those so that everybody has a large vegetated buffer. Maybe something like that would be more pleasant to the homes around it.
Okay.
But again, you're talking
But you got to
about,
specify that.
yeah, you got to specify that. And you're talking about a development of 10 to 20 homes, kaboom, all at once in a large area. But we're concentrating them in 65 acres, you're concentrating them in the first 10 acres, but leaving the rest of the acreage open and green.
Well, what would help you satisfy that requirement is opening up your acreage requirements, your lot size requirements for cluster development. Or changing the zoning zones within town so that you cover, this zone has 10 plus acres, it's 10 acre zoning, it's a 5 acre zoning, this zone is 3 acre zoning, depending upon where the largest parcels of land are located, you could do something like that.
But back to your original point, is that we're not anti-cluster housing per se, okay, but we would want, as Kim was saying, to make, there's going to be some there could be some give and take, and
So the tax rate's fragile. So the problem is that, developers haven't come here because they know the tax rate's set, and they're gonna have a bunch of angry people because they put in 25 or 30 homes.
well,
Tax rates.
okay, but we also have, the constraint of how many
We
building
need to
permits.
come up with an annual limit of what we're gonna
Okay.
allow in the town.
Okay,
Period.
okay.
It's
Big
a-
groups,
like a
little groups,
growth
everything.
management
Okay.
ordinance.
Right,
Yes.
but we have to have a specific number that we're gonna decide.
But I spoke to Paul this afternoon, and I want to do an inventory on how many houses, how many other lots we've created over a period of time, 20 years, whatever. Or how many building permits. And I think it'd probably be easier if we just got a hold of building permits and say, in the 2020, we built 7 houses. And then get some idea of what we see as normal growth in the town. And
That's a great idea.
when you're going to see 45 houses.
Right. And then you limit it to
Right.
the average growth.
Whatever the
Yeah.
average, yeah.
And if somebody comes in and you're at the 7th house, you just say, hey, you're gonna have to apply next year.
Put them on a waiting list.
A
They can be
question of you,
number
Joe. Is there some loose leaf that has all the building permits in it so you can get to them?
There's a file folder in there that has the select board's supposed to be putting the permits in
Okay,
that we have.
so if I were to take those out, I could just go click, 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 click.
Right, and they're separated by year. They're actually in the Avatar database too.
That would
Matter-
be something, if we started just getting them into like a spreadsheet, then.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just put them on a spread. I would do that. I can do that.
Why can't you reach out to Avatar and ask them to run you a growth report? We do it all the time. Ask them to run you a growth report for the last 10 years,
Why don't we do 20?
20 years.
The clerk should be able to do that. He runs Avatar, right?
Yeah.
The assessor should be able
Oh,
to.
the assessor should be able to do that, yeah.
Without any problem
2 seconds.
whatsoever. Yeah, 2 seconds. It's all in the county database.
Yep, would have to be, because a
That's-
lot would change from land to home.
Oh, okay. Who can make that request?
We'll get Paul to,
Yeah. you
well,
just-
can you ask Paul when you get home?
I'll ask him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. And then just say, that's in reference to what I talked about. That's it.
Great.
And yeah, then we would have on a piece of paper saying, hey, this is what's happened in the last
Give
20
me
years.
a paper dispensation. I go home, I have paper.
I mean, I'm just saying, in terms of this cluster development and stuff, if someone was gonna attempt it right now, what would the process be? Because I mean, there's the zoning. I mean, would it go basically to the zoning board?
Nope.
Because it
No,
would
no,
be-
no,
Come
that's
here.
come here.
I know, but like,
Zoning only
Oh.
takes issues that are
If we-
problems.
Yeah, if we
Yeah,
deny them.
Everything else comes to us.
So if they come here to us and we kind of work through stuff and between us all, we either figure out a way to make it work and we phase it. So in other words, we would phase it. Let's say they wanted to put 20 homes in and we get it all to the point where we all agree on it, both the developer and the planning board and everybody else, the select board to the new road, everybody. And then we say, okay, but you can only do 5 houses a year.
Right.
That's probably not going to be what the developer wants to hear when he's spending all that money. So he would end up probably going to the ZBA to ask for some type of variance because he's displeased with what we just told him.
But you don't have that rule now.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're upset with
Yeah,
that,
anything
no.
we say can be appealed through the zoning board.
to the ZBA.
But you don't have an ordinance that says you can only build if you come in with a
Yeah, we have
development
a
for 20.
phase in.
That's fair.
You have a
There's
phase.
a phase in, but we need to get a better number based on modern, because everything we have is 80
Yeah,
something.
and it's more of a suggestion than a straight out.
Yeah,
Legality, can we go to the planning board or to the zoning board and say, no, this is not, we don't want this?
No,
Not
No,
allowed to do.
No.
nope,
they are their own separate judicial body.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no.
Okay.
Yep.
They're not allowed to meet with us unless it's a workshop related
Yep.
or ordinance preparation.
Yep.
And they're, and
for their actual
But-
work, nope.
so in the scenario, I mean, what it would really come down to is what our phasing says, because they can appeal, and if it's not,
Yep.
so that could be a real
yeah,
potential.
in the most courts will err on the side of the property owner.
Yeah.
Most courts.
Property owner or the developer? What you talking
The
about?
property owner who's hired the developer.
Oh, okay. Got you. Okay.
Yes. Courts will, in New Hampshire, courts will, if your ordinances or your regulations are, they got holes in them like
Yep.
this, the courts
we'll
will
walk right
go to
through.
the
Yeah, they'll
replicant.
say, well,
will
you know.
award it, and you'll
we need-
lose every single
Well,
time.
that
We
would
need
be
to
my
tighten it up.
concern in that an example. I mean, we could say we don't, whatever, it doesn't meet the vision, but if it doesn't spell it out there why you can't, there's nothing we can really do.
But we can't put in an ordinance, say any and all developments are limited to 5 building permits a year, can we?
Well, we can limit the whole town per year, but
You can-
can't be selective
Correct.
against
No.
the.
You can't selectively zone, you can't selectively spot zone, and you can't be selective against the developer. You're right. But you absolutely can issue through the select board and through a vote of the town meeting, a growth management ordinance, for lack of a better title.
Okay.
Which says that you will only allow the average of the last 20 years of homes to be developed in a 12-month period of time. And you can ask legal if that would hold up, and I think it would.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I think if you go back, because I think there's quite a few houses built here. in the last
Just the
5
last 3 years, I
Three.
can count 14 off the top of my head as
Got it.
far as property divisions.
Yes.
Yeah, and then during the down, what was it, 2006, 2007, but,
Yeah.
so I mean, there'll be bumps and, but as you
Yeah.
say, what's the average for the last 25 years?
Right.
And if it comes out at 5, then that's,
I don't necessarily think that there's going to be an issue in the next 3 to 5 years, but I think beyond that,
yeah.
it potentially
So-
could be. So you might as well make the rules now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if nobody
There's
beyond
big-
now is aware of it.
Well, that's what I'm just,
Big hole,
Which is the big hole.
All of them.
phasing,
Hmm?
phasing, big hole.
Well, okay, so let's keep going back. So where would we say that you can only build as many houses as is, or
well, I think,
can we say you can only do it, or
No.
we would prefer that you only build?
well, I think he's saying if that was a growth management ordinance that was adopted by the town,
Then it,
that would be,
You have a phase ordinance, correct?
No, we have
A guideline?
Yeah, but it's one of them things you can walk through with your eyes closed. You don't need to push curtain out of the way.
Absolutely.
Well, might that not be something we want to put
Where
on the
the
list?
preliminary layout submitted covers only a part of the subdivider's entire holding. A sketch of the prospective future street systems of the unsubmitted part shall be furnished, and the street system of the submitted part will be considered of adjustments and connections with the street system of the part not submitted. Again, big hole.
Yep.
Phasing, if applicable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to make some,
Yeah, so I think you're, Larry, you're probably right. You probably should add, some sort of growth management ordinance to the list of
Yeah.
stuff.
But
Right,
that would,
special
that would be on the select board, right?
well, we have to initiate it and bring it.
Would we?
But something like
Board has
updating
to
that
run.
language would be on us.
You guys have to initiate. the
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yes, yeah, we have to initiate the
Because
ordinance, bring it
planning
to town, right, but we need to get it from you guys, well, from us.
Okay, so let me see if I can come up with the numbers for you.
Yep.
That's
So perhaps,
all been fun.
well, I don't know, that would probably go to, if anything was gonna be changed in that, would that go to the regular town meeting or
Well,
that's changing,
yeah,
if we
it would
change
have
the
to go to
subdivision?
Yeah, that one would have to
Regular
go,
town meeting.
yeah,
I'd have to be in March.
And it probably, I can't imagine it be a problem in that if it's reasonable.
right,
This is how we arrived at this number.
and if we have a good explanation why.
Why? Okay.
Well, because I'm just trying to think in the terms of the, prioritization.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Brenda, your point. What?
Well, because he brought, I mean, it seems like the wireless thing, like we just have nothing and then there's been some development, so that's like something we want to do. And then these application things are more for just the process.
Right.
But like you had talked about last meeting with like something like the ADU, that there's people just doing it. Right now it's governed by the RSA because we don't have anything. So if that's the concern, then I feel like that should be one.
Well, those, the ADU, the wireless and the site plan, we're gonna bring
Super
to the
important.
special meeting.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones. They're gonna, probably the next couple months till we get everything done. And then the other stuff we can go to the March meeting with.
So for the March meeting, we're looking at fee thing is a big
And the growth management
And
ordinance.
the growth management,
/ changing the subdivision.
right,
regulations, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Okay, so
And the ADU thing actually was in response to an RSA that,
Right, their RSA's a lot broader than our.
so we are changing our ADU regulations. Yep.
Right.
no, I already forgot. You just said the fee schedule. Oh.
Fee
that's
schedule's a
not
warrant.
Growth
like-
management, the fee schedule.
So we don't have regulations that say the ADUs have to be connected to the current domicile, correct?
There's holes in it. A big part of it is you can have separate units, the mother-in-law apartment thing made them.
Yeah, but they had to be, so the ordinance that when ADUs were passed by the state like 4 years ago,
Had to be connected.
had to be connected.
Twenty-
The new one is disconnected.
Really?
They don't have to be connected. If they are, they have to have the open door and all that stuff. But no, it's unattached or attached.
That's what I just read that slide you sent. So that's what we're under, right?
Yeah.
We don't have anything else.
Right. And we're gonna, she worked hard on
Mhm.
getting it together,
Yep.
so we pretty much have
No, we
that
need it.
ready to rock.
It's awesome. We need it.
So that, well, I mean, that pretty much covers what, I think we've discussed most of what was on the list of procedures to discuss.
Yep.
Except
Yeah.
master plan, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a master plan. I think it's just gonna have to be something.
That's gonna take a little at a time.
And
I mean, because that's gonna be considerable
Yes.
So
funds.
why don't I put, I've read the 1981 master plan. Maybe what I can do is put an outline together for the board of what procedure would be and the process is for a master plan at this size and level. Did anybody else get the Newport
Yes,
Community?
I got it.
Yes,
We all got it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so that's part of their process for the master plan thing. So this, I didn't particularly care for and I'll say this publicly, I didn't particularly care for their title. I think, attitude survey. I think I would throw this in the trash, but, community activist interest or community activity interest, but some of the stuff in here was very good.
Yes.
The stuff in here was very good. I think the marketing guy for the title was terrible, but this is something that would be
Yeah,
great to be able to send out.
We had started to work on that, and then the prices of what it was gonna cost came out, and then all this came. that we were-
So that's when earlier Kim mentioned that some of the permit fees and some of the other fees, they're currently going in the general fund. And typically what a municipality will do is they'll carve out, kind of like a capital reserve account, but those monies would go into the planning fund. And then the planning department has a pool of money that they draw from to do the master plan and things like that. Because we don't have any money in the budget.
We budgeted every year for whatever they want.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a request for the master plan. When we found out that utilizing Lake Sunapee Regional would have been over 20,000 in addition to, everything we were dealing with, we put it on a back burner to move forward with this. If we can alter the master plan and I mean, because we had started on questions that we were going to put in the questionnaire. We had looked at the original one and what we had to change. It was actually would have pretty much fit. We would have had a few things to add to bring it up to date, but it was a pretty good questionnaire. It's just cost put it to the back. I think we should work on these other issues, and as soon as these are caught up and done, go ahead strong on the master plan.
100%.
But like you said, the outline, I mean, it's gonna be like a long process.
It is a long,
The
yes,
outline
long
is
process.
Absolutely.
I think that, I actually think that that the planning board, working with the other boards in town and the select board, actually could do the master plan
Yes.
this time around
Yes,
and save the taxpayers
absolutely.
thousands of dollars. I mean,
Thousands.
Derry spent 100,000.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, Lake Sunapee wanted 20.
And and the regional planning guys, they send, and I experienced the whole thing. And to me, it was a joke. It was a lot of money to spend on something that people in the town could facilitate. The workshops are pretty simple to facilitate. You just have to put public notice and have people come in, and you have to have an agenda and a plan and communicate with the people on what they want as far as recreation goes and this and this and this. So we could do it. It's just a thing. So I think that, I think if we build out an outline, it would at least be a start of that. So if anybody says, hey, you haven't updated your master plan, we say, hey, we're working on it. Right. And then, and put a plan together.
Yeah.
And I
I mean,
think
we
that would
have
be a good thing.
The ADU thing was the main kicker between that and the wire. We
Absolutely need it.
they kind of
But
took precedent.
back to the questionnaire. If we were to send out a questionnaire, I would bet a lot of money that the answers will come back almost identical to what they sent out in 77.
Oh, the old ones, yes.
Slow,
Yeah.
rural,
Yeah.
small rural town,
Don't change.
very
We
moderate
don't want
growth.
anything.
and-
Right.
I think we want more commercial growth. I think we want to spend.
Yes,
I'd like to see more
absolutely.
small businesses like Chris.
Absolutely.
I think that's.
If we could pack a few in, 10, get, the landowners to sell small parts.
So I know people that drive from southern New Hampshire to go to Chris's Brewery. So doing some sort, well, but it's true. You get good beer. You got the opportunity to to kind of put our heads together and try to come up with something that would be a draw commercial.
Commercial incentives.
And like a microbrewery area or something like that. And
Mhm.
that was a long process.
Where would you?
But if we could do something on Route 10 where we could get some of the people, we could figure out a way to tell, I don't know, again, the landowners there, if there was some way to incentivize them to change the use of the land to allow for some kind of light commercial, not industrial, but we've already got a lot of that commercial growth right there. And it'd be the perfect place to do it.
Right. And the
every
income versus outlay on it.
Well,
No
okay, two
question.
very big sections of it are the property on Glidden right above me.
The old
And
power
then
place.
Gary's land goes right
Yeah.
down the road. And then, of course, not much can be done on the other side of the road,
Right.
rivers there. And then you've got a couple of houses down there,
Right.
and I'm not sure they'd be thrilled if we bulldoze them.
Well, no, you'd have to make sure that you left a larger area around them, but they can also come in and apply for a residential in a commercial zone and get money off their assessment.
But I just, what is it, a mile maybe from Barton Road down to the flat, or is it more than that?
Oh, it's more than that. It's about 2.5.
Down to Patton's? Say?
Yeah.
So it's
Two,
not,
2.5 miles.
is it that much? Okay.
Yeah, you don't need a lot, just a few,
Okay.
you know, and again, we don't want a whole lot all at once, but if we could get a couple of light commercial or even, you know, just a small business or two in there.
Well, after Gary gets through digging out the hill, you probably could put in a small strip mall in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just a nice thing, and, it's, could be pie in the sky dreaming, but the nice thing is, if there is a draw for commercial development, that is wicked good for the tax basis.
Yeah,
Really good.
absolutely.
How big a nut does Patton's pay a year?
Well, I haven't seen it since he's been finished, but it was 19 last year.
Is it just 19,000?
Yeah,
That's it?
something like that. Yeah.
Not very much.
Well, $1 million is 14,220, right?
Yeah.
1422 1,000.
Is that what it's? Okay.
So, and I don't think we're gonna have a $10 million for development, so. I would love $1 million building. Could give Joe 15 grand more to spend.
Tiffany's might want to put a building down the road. Good luck.
Going back, to our agenda. That's what I'm putting the notes. So is there anything that can be accomplished, finalized, presented through just public hearing? No, right? Because you have to do
Yep.
the public hearing in the special town meeting.
Everything
Yeah.
has to, even
Yeah.
the March meeting has to have public hearing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're gonna be doing a lot of.
So I have what is for special and I got what is for March.
The only thing
Question.
that we're going to go through, we're gonna have the driveway application and the subdivision application go through regular meetings. to
Right.
finalize
And the
those.
fee schedule.
Yeah.
And the fee schedule in March.
Right.
Okay, and there's one last concern that Kim talked to me about on Sunday, which is the planning board organization and procedures for this.
I nominate Larry Rawls chairman.
I second.
This is a working meeting, can't do it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do
It's
it.
on the board. It's on here.
It's still working. I get 2 weeks off.
Yeah. And I nominate JP Morgan as vice chair.
No.
Oh, yeah. Seconded.
Okay, there we go.
So
That's right.
And the other thing I want to bring up with elected officials is that we need an alternate for Joe Martha. And the only person we can have is another ex officio. And I brought this up before, I'm bringing it up again. We'll bring it up in the meeting, but we got Ed here, and he's the only other person. If you're not at a meeting, you have no alternate for you.
Yeah.
Nobody else can sit there. So I would like to ask Ed, would like to be,
Oh, an alternate member?
yeah, you just need to bring in a letter that says that you have, expressed your intent. Like, become an alternate.
It's the board.
And then we would go through the whole thing, but you have to be appointed by the select board to be an ex officio member. That it's different than all the rest of our candidates. But again, the only person that can replace Joe is you.
Why can't?
The town administrator can. Anyone that works in the administration in the town. I mean, technically Paul can do it. Technically. The town administration, the person involved in town administration has to be in there. Either board or town administration, one of the two.
I thought it was only somebody
No.
that was
No.
elected
I just looked
by
today.
office.
I just looked at it. Well, that would be Paul anyway.
maybe the
Yeah, Paul was elected, yeah.
treasurer.
It has to
I
be an
can't serve-
administrative
I can't
person.
serve on a board in my house.
Because I just,
That's right.
It's a conflict of interest.
But I mean, this is,
But-
so they're the ex officio alternate, so it would be. I mean,
The
just,
choices are Ed or,
Well,
what
just
what about
as-
the chairman of the select board? She can't be an ex officio?
no,
No,
Why
no.
not?
chairman can't.
Chairman can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Joe can't be chair.
No.
Can't sit here as an ex officio and be chair of the
For
planning.
this board,
Okay.
And the chair of the select board can't be an
Can't sit
ex
on
officio.
the others.
So are the members of the school committee who got elected, would they be ex officios?
No.
No.
They're not part of the town, separate
We
forms.
have no control over that.
So you have treasurer,
So we have
Who else is
so we have two options, Paul and
chairman,
Ed, right?
Right.
trustees, and
I mean, and the thing is, it's like, why
I'm
not
not-
just have
I-
both of them listed? That way, if something happens, you know.
well, I'm just trying to get what the need is. If he's not here, and you
So-
still have three other people.
So a lot of times we might not
Yeah.
have enough. I am just concerned because there have been many meetings where it's just been me sitting here, okay?
Well, it's not gonna happen moving forward. I'll be here at least.
No, I mean, I agree that it's, I mean,
I have no life, I'll be here.
it's worth doing. I'm just, that's the case, is like basically if, I mean, it's not just if he can't make a meeting, but 4 or 5 of us are here anyway, that
Right.
Ed or whoever is
Oh, not
comes,
here.
like if, oh, I'm gone, you're gone, he's gone.
Right,
Okay.
that's all. I erring on the side of caution, because I'm a belt and suspender kind of girl, you
Right.
know? Want to make sure that we not only have a full quorum of members, but that we have a full quorum of alternate
Yeah.
members.
But I think we have both of them listed. That way, if something comes up, we have 2 people that can fill in.
Yep.
And the biggest thing about the ex officio is to go between the 2 boards. I mean, because basically there's a lot less power that involved in the ex officio and stuff, but most of it is the interim between the boards.
Right, so that everybody, so there's that
Right.
communication,
Right.
absolutely.
So stepping back, are we planning to elect the board current officials? Are we doing that at the next meeting?
Yeah.
At a real meeting, yeah.
We're gonna elect Larry.
And then going back away from the procedures and stuff and the organization is we had the question of when do we involve, I guess we discussed this before, but the question of do we do a joint meeting with select board and the zoning board or whatever for any of this or not?
Well, let's get our stuff together and do that right before the hearings, because
Yeah.
that way we have everything together, ready to go, and there's not.
Yeah, we're not going back and forth.
Excellent.
Jason came to one of our meetings last year and he had some concerns and I forgot what they were.
Yeah,
Class 6 roads was
The
one.
class 6.
Yeah.
He wanted to be able to check on them for, going back and forth,
Health and
health and
Safety.
stuff. He's also, we've been talking about possibly, which is something we could bring up too, is having we can use the fire chief for inspections,
oh, right.
health and safety
Yeah.
inspections, like, smoke detectors, no bare wires, things like that. I mean, we can use him since we don't have a town inspector. And we already have the certificate of compliance, so if we boost the cost of the $2 permit to $10, $15, it'll be the same thing, because it just says certificate of compliance. It doesn't say complying to what, but it's compliance to the building. And we can utilize that for his permit to say you can live there. It's almost like an occupancy permit.
but as long as it covers.
Right now, you
his
guys
costs.
do the occupancy permits, right?
Right now, we do the building permits. There's no inspections, no occupancy permits, nothing.
Oh, you don't do, oh.
No, the certificate of compliance is actually an alternative to building permits.
Yep.
But we can use it for the health and safety. That way we can make sure,
Make sure that there's actually hardwired smoke detectors, carbon
Right.
monoxide, the heating systems in.
Yeah, so you would basically, if you're gonna do that, I would think that you would hand something to the applicant when they put their application in for the building permit, and they give you a building permit back, say that you're subject to these inspections at the end of your construction.
Right.
Right?
It's not really under us.
No,
It's under.
Do we
It's under
require
select-
smoke?
I mean, building permit.
Yeah. Pardon? Does the state law require smoke detectors?
The state law actually requires hardwire
Hardwired smoke.
Those, yeah.
with
I've-
battery backup.
No, I've got them in my house. And
Most people
my
do.
smoke detectors are in a drawer because the goddamn things, one goes off, then that goes, and then all of a sudden you're up all night trying to
So
find out.
when a town doesn't have inspections like this, it falls back onto the state code. So it's up to the homeowner at that point to have an inspection done by a state inspector or by a licensed inspector to come in and inspect the work that a contractor did. And that's on the homeowner in a town that doesn't have the inspection requirements. That's on the homeowner.
So again, there should maybe be something on the building permit that lets the homeowners know this. Because I don't think we have anything on our building permit that says, you need to look at such and such state building code and make sure that,
Right. Yeah, we can make changes.
Or
to
something to
that.
the effect that the town, the town expects the construction to be per state building
Yeah.
code.
adhere to such.
Adhere to state building
State-
codes,
state
because
building
then
codes
that
and
gives, that would actually
Yeah.
probably be better.
Yes,
Yeah.
But the town expects you to adhere to state building codes,
Which again would protect the town from liability.
correct.
absolutely.
Okay. Sounds-
But that's not our.
No. Let's not-
I mean, that's not under us.
We're the Titanic. We turn this way, like
It's
this.
just a
like this.
suggestion.
We've already gone 10 years. We still haven't turned yet.
Okay, other business.
I have no other business.
I
I
think
have
we have enough
brought
business.
many things to the table.
Yes, you have. And you've done a fine
Okay,
job.
Make a motion, we bail.
I second
I
that.
second it. Yeah.
All those in favor?
Okay, 8:14. No, yeah, 8:13.
Good at that, Chris.
They use the efficient.
So who's going to talk to Paul about the Avatar thing?
Already did, he texted me.
Oh, okay.